folks, today we are going to work with clay. This type of clay will be the second type of clay that we're going to use, and we are going to make a coil pot nest. So a coil is a round kind of almost noodle of clay. We're going to use that to swirl around and around and around, and then we will scratch attach and put it up on the sides. This is going to also be a nest, so we'll also put some other clay in the bottom so that we can have our little eggs inside there. So let me get everything set up, and let me turn my camera, and then we'll get started. Okay, today we're going to start off with some little lumps of clay. The first lump of clay that you get, we are going to roll. Now, we want to use from the palm of our hand all the way up to the top of our fingers. So when we roll, we're going to be rolling on not this side. We're going to be rolling on the back side because there's a little bit more texture there. And what we'll do is we'll roll up and down, up and down. We don't want to get as small as our pinky. So if we have little teeny tiny coils that look this teeny tiny, they're a little bit too small. So if it's like a spaghetti noodle, it's too thin. So you're going to roll. What you can do if it gets too big, you can use two hands. And when I roll, I spread my hands out. So I just spread until it gets big enough. I'm going to shrink this one just a tiny little bit. Now, with your first one, we want to make this look like a cinnamon roll. So we're going to put this on there. We're going to tuck the edge, and then we're going to play follow the leader, and it's just going to go right around, swirly whirly, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. Now, when we get to the end, if we leave it that way, there's a good chance it's going to fall apart. So once we swirly whirly it, when we get to the end, we want to take our finger and just smooth that clay out so that it's stuck. We call that attaching or welding. To weld means to join two pieces together. So we are trying to weld those two pieces together. Next, I'm going to take my next coil. And before I use this next coil, I have to do what's called scratch attach. Scratch attach is a way that we join two pieces of clay together, or we weld two pieces of clay together. So one way is to smooth, the other way is to scratch. So this one, I'm going to scratch around the edge, just the edge. I don't need to do the bottom yet. So I'm just going to go right around there, little tiny scratches. And then on the top, I'm just going to come through and I'm just going to scratch all the way down. Think of it as a cat kind of scratching at a scratching post. And this way we have all our little marks on there. Now I'm going to take the tip of this and I'm going to put it right here on top. And I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Then my swirly whirly. I'm just going around the top. I'm trying to get those to line up. Then, once it starts meeting up again, I'm going to do a little bit of scratch attach. And I'm going to keep going and going and going and going and going. I'm going to scratch attach a little bit more. I'm going to go around and around and a little tiny bit more. That way I have my scratch attach all done. Once I have my scratch attach done, I just kind of set it down, and that way I have my nest. Now, your nest might look a little different. If you have smaller pieces of clay, it might look a little bit like this one. So, let's say we have the same bottom done to where we tuck the end, we swirly whirly, and then we scratch. Let's say you had some smaller coils. So let's, instead of one long one, maybe we have a few kind of individual pieces. So we scratch attach, and we just go around. If it doesn't go all the way around, it's not wrong. There's a way that we can fix that. We scratch attach, we scratch, and then we put this one not the same way. We don't want it open because the eggs would fall out. So then we do what's called interlocking, and we interlock it so that now it's all safe and secure. And then we scratch, we go back in, We can have those ends sticking out a little bit. That way it'll look a little bit more like a nest. And then we scratch, scratch, and then we put that right on top. And then that way we have our nest. So either way, if you have a long coil, that'll work good. If you have shorter coils, it'll also work just as good. Now, I like to save a little bit of clay so that I can make an egg. What we don't want to do is we don't want to keep playing with the egg and egg and egg and egg and keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it, because eventually it's going to crack. Once it starts cracking, that means it's a little bit too dry and it may fall out of the nest. So then we scratch, and we're going to take it and we're going to put it into our nest, and then we're going to give it a little twist so it doesn't fall out. That way then we have our nest and our egg. You can also take this and you can draw on it. So if you want to make it look like it's more like a straw nest, you can take and just add some little what we would call texture marks on there. So we can take our little tool, we can add some little marks on there just to roughen up the surface a tiny little bit to make it look a little bit more like a real nest. Now, once we're done with these, you're going to set them onto your tray, and then I will give you a bin with a washcloth in there. Please wash your hands. Use the one that I give you. The other washcloth is for the other person at the table, so use your own washcloth. Wipe your hands up good. Once your hands are all washed, leave that inside there. Please don't touch the clay once we're done. Once your hands are clean, just leave them there, and I will be right around to give you a paper towel so that you can dry up, and then we will get lined up. So my quietly sitting tables, once you're all cleaned up, I will call you to line up first. Thank you.